here's some recent Hedera news. This was printed yesterday morning, but it's big. So verifiable, if you're wondering about this, ESG metrics are critical to sustainable future. Hedera is providing the infrastructure for a foundation of auditable, comparable, and trusted sustainability metrics, bringing the balance sheet of the planet to what? Distributed ledger technology. Now, of course, we're going to take you to this particular Politico one and so on, but it really, really gets into it. A lot of people are excited about it. This guy's like, this is awesome, go team, and so on. But let's jump into that. And I won't read all this because, man, I mean, this is really like big, deep dive stuff. So, of course, building a framework for a sustainable future while bringing the balance sheet of the planet to the public ledger is critical for sustainable outcomes. But if you're wondering why I'm mentioning this, let's get right into it. The reason for it is, and I know this kind of looks funky, but hopefully it is big enough. It says a recent study from Simon Kucher and Partners found that 60%, listen to this, guys, of consumers rated sustainability as a top purchasing criteria, but consumer behavior and brand loyalty are ever evolving. It will increasingly take more than just eco-friendly buzzwords and marketing spin, sometimes referred to as greenwashing techniques, to attract and retain loyal customers. Today, companies must focus on transparency by providing proof points and accurate data. A little bit more in regards to this. This is a particular quote, and I'll jump further down. So it says, businesses that fail to take sustainability seriously face economic and reputational risk. Most Fortune 500 companies have adopted net zero carbon commitments, and ESG reporting is becoming standard practice. Now, as we know with Hedera's hash graph and so on, right? Hedera really stands out as being the most green of all green in these particular crypto projects. In reality, it's not a blockchain, right? But, you know, from the blockchain-esque of these ones, Hedera takes the cake. Then second place, and it's not even a close second, guys. Let's be real, right? It would be Algo, but it's not a close second. If you look at the stats, it's not close. Anyway, let's get back to the topic. So ESG reporting has become a standardized practice. According to this person, Anil Meany Rubin, Chief of Staff and Head of Global Policy for Hedera. And she goes on to mention, or maybe it's a he, I don't know. Yet when it comes to credibility and implementation, we have hit a wall. Ooh. So they're recognizing that they're super green, but you can, you know, basically run into certain barriers. Now, in regards to a little bit of the transparency, listen what it says here. They need transparency and efficiency with carbon market industries because that has never been more pressing. All intakes and offsets could be published, shared, and even laid bare for the world to see. But in order to bring proper accountability to sustainability efforts, companies must take ESG accounting to the next level. The balance sheet of the planet must live on a globally available public ledger, providing true transparency and tamper-proof metrics. Listen to this quote. We can't survive on this planet unless we act sustainably, Rubin said recently at Davos. And he also says, it is at the root of Hedera and the opportunities that we provide to build sustainable tools on their particular platform. And then, of course, it's exciting, right? Look at also right here from this. Okay, so it is a lady. The technology we need to navigate the environmental crisis already exists. It is critical that policy makers, listen to this, guys, we're talking about all the regulatory clarity. This is big for Hedera, so pay attention. All right. It's critical that policymakers and regulators support continued innovation on the public ledger to secure a sustainable and prosperous future for all. They recognize that just because they're super green doesn't mean that everybody wants to just hop on it real quick. Sounds cool on paper, but if you're going to run into a wall or a barrier, a brick wall, or whatever you want to call it, how do you respond to that? All right, let's get into some of the response in regards to that. So they recognize that as companies increasingly focus on providing results from their ESG efforts, how is the advancement of digital ledger technology, DLT like blockchain, addressing the need for transparency? In what ways will it help organizations build out a more climate resilient future in Web3? What does the impact look like for everyday customers? I mean, to a sense, it's kind of like, well, no kidding. Is it rhetorical what they're asking here? But here it mentions specifically what we're looking for. DLT allows us to put the balance sheet of the planet on the public ledger. Until now, we relied upon trusted institutions to conduct audit reviews on the public ledger. Data is cryptographically secured yet accessible to all network participants in real time. In essence, DLT provides a sole source of truth. Now, when we go further down, there's implications, like I mentioned, for understanding and internalizing risk. But by using DLT, everyday consumers can and confidently align their spending with their values. All right. Now, I want to point this out. Last week, we got the whole reports in regards to some of those particular proxies going down. Some people wanted to flood that. Understand the whole purpose of having proxies to begin with. It's not to, expose the original IEP address, right? And if anything, you wouldn't want that. Like, Hedera is a big project. Why would they want to just put it like that? Give away? It's kind of like me giving away my home IP address and so on, just to when I do transactions and so on, right? So we understand the value of having a VPN and so on. I also understand what Hedera brings to the table with how they have things in place with proxies. So it says, with the widespread use of data or proxy data, there has been little incentive for companies to go beyond auditing their direct scope 1 emissions. But DLT is revolutionizing the way data is gathered, owned, and used. So kind of like a little bit more of a reiteration, if you want to say what's one of the main topics of, do your own research with Max tonight. I'll tell you this flat out. One of the main key takeaways is what? Data. How do we know that? Shout out to Jetpack. He knows what I'm talking about. And that is basically like what I like to call digital oil, right? Data. There's so much value in data. How do we know that? Jasmy, data democratization. Alliance Block, right? What they bring to the table with, are you kidding me? Being able to monetize your own private data. And then now with what you see with what? Hedera. So while we put so much focus, right, on some of these ISOs and other projects and so on with utility, understand that the consistent hot topic, at least for tonight and moving forward, is the power of data. Are you invested into projects that have things focused on data? And if so, do you understand how that's so big for Web3 moving forward? Now, I want to jump into this for a brief moment. I know this is kind of a little bit of a deep dive, but it's good to get into this stuff. It says, firstly, it can grant businesses granular insight into a range of ESG metrics, digital monitoring, reporting, and verification. DMRV sources data from LiDAR, satellite remote sensors, and other Internet of Things tooling, and then process it in real time using what? Machine learning algorithms and even, yeah, you read right, AI. Secondly, once automatically and immutably stored on the network, this data can be tracked, traced, and publicly verified. Ultimately, responding to growing climate risk means going beyond ESG reporting. Yeah, no kidding. You got to be innovative and you got to go beyond, as Gilbert Verdine would say, your walled gardens. How do we do that? Well, it states the Hbar Foundation grantee TYMLEZ does this by making data actionable. TYMLEZ's carbon reporting solution presents data in digestible ways. No, not by consuming it, right? Like in your gut, by empowering clients to make informed decisions on which decarbonization strategy best reflects their unique priorities. So kind of like the same case as before, giving power back to the people, for instance, where there's Alliance Block with data monetization, Jasmy with data democratization, or how about this? Businesses, institutions being able to choose what they do with their data and where it goes, and if anything, keeping it secure. This is why I like to put so much focus on some of these particular projects, because there's so much more to it than just what's on the surface with, payments and messagings and transactions per second. So I'm glad to be able to bring this to you guys and so on, to give you a broader perspective from, I guess you could say, like an educational point of view of understanding the differences between various blockchains, the projects, and especially data.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you have not yet subscribed, do yourself a favor and subscribe for more information on the ISO 222 compliant tokens, and hit the notification bell to make sure that you are aware of the new videos when they come up. Max and I cover these ISOs, and we also have a live show every single night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you tune in for that. You won't want to miss it. Thanks again, and we will see you on the next video.